Good morning. I hope everybody had an awesome and fun time writing that LEQ and that everybody remembered to start with prior to and write that contextualization. But I guess I will find out tomorrow. We're going to pick up and get as far in these World War One notes as you can. I'm not really sure what time y'all got started, what time it is now, etc. But wherever we are when the bell rings, if somebody could just kind of take note of that for me, and that's where we will pick up on Monday. I'm also, the two classes aren't exactly lined up. Shockingly, Block 2 actually got further than Block 4 on Tuesday, so I apologize, Block 2. You're just going to get a few slides of review, but it is what it is. So, where we left off, at least in Block 4, was talking about the alliance system of which Otto von Bismarck is considered the architect. The idea that Germany needs to figure out who its friends are and who its potential enemies are. And they kind of made the mistake, definitely made the mistake, of going up against Great Britain for who had the best navy, and therefore Great Britain is not going to be one of those allies, and neither is France because of the whole Alsace-Lorraine issue. But he's okay with that, and he's okay with the alliance system that he created, and of course, the idea of this is not to go to war, because if you know who my friends are, hopefully you're not going to hit me. And it works until it doesn't. And that's kind of, the issue that gets us into World War One is, yeah, you know who my friends are, which means a personal conflict very quickly turns into an international conflict. The I in the main causes is imperialism, which hopefully you guys were super familiar with when you sat down to write today. And so just the European rivalry and competition for power and financial independence takes the show on the road down to Africa, over to Asia, and becomes another point of competition who has the most colonies. And one of the things we talked about on Tuesday is which countries did not get as many colonies as they would have liked. And Germany is the country that feels really slighted by the whole imperialism issue. So we're seeing kind of a trend here. Germany is the main country that's focusing on the militarism. Germany is the country that is pushing all these alliances. Germany is the country that is upset about imperialism. And then our N is nationalism, and Germany is super about nationalism as far as their independence. But in this case, the biggest problem with nationalism is not going to be Germany, it's going to be Austria-Hungary, and the fact that they have so many ethnic minorities within their empire that do not have a voice. The Magyars have a voice. They got their whole Hungary dual monarchy thing, but there are a lot of other ethnicities within there, and there's a lot of people who are very angry that they have done so. So the main causes of World War One: militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism. I know, I'm going to talk so fast when it's just me talking. I'm going to try to slow down. So there we go. Self-determination on the basis of ethnicity. These small minorities feeling that they should have their own countries. They are not part of Austria. They don't feel Austrian. They don't feel Hungarian. They want to be independent. So this area is really where the drama starts. the Balkan Peninsula. Not all of the blue areas are controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. We have Greece down here at the bottom. They are independent. We have a couple countries that are standing on their own, like Serbia. Serbia is independent, but they are considered a protectorate of Austria-Hungary. Remember, protectorate means partial control, but they are technically independent. And then we have other areas like the Bosnians, the Croatians, that are directly controlled by Austria-Hungary. So this is the area, and even Bismarck had said, when there's the next war, it's going to be about the Balkans, and he was absolutely correct. This is another example of really kind of screwing up ethnically. So even after, and we're jumping into the future a little bit, but even after Austria-Hungary collapses as an empire and loses all of these areas that they've taken control, the powers that be still didn't really know what to do with them, so they kind of just lumped them all into a country called Yugoslavia. And that was an absolute mess. And so that area is now called former Yugoslavia, but is now the independent nations of Slovenia, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and so on. Yeah, looks peaceful enough. So the issue where we pick up is in the Balkans, in Austria-Hungary, and it has to do with an area called Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia. So as I said, Serbia was independent-ish, but a lot of people in Serbia supported this idea called Pan-Slavism. And Pan-Slavism said that all Slavic countries should be united together because they have this common heritage and ethnicity, which they do, but they also have different languages, different religions, different cultures, which is why it never really panned out. But at this time, there are a lot of people pushing for that, and so those that are in free countries like Serbia are extremely angry that there are Slavic areas under the control of Austria-Hungary. So this is all part of that powder keg that is filling and filling. Every time Germany gets a new tank, every time, France does something in Alsace-Lorraine, which reminds the Germans of what they lost. Every time the Slavs start complaining about being part of Austria-Hungary, this powder keg is just building and building, and it's very obvious to the leaders of Europe that all it's going to take is one spark to set it all off. And remember, we looked at that family tree. A lot of these leaders are cousins, like direct first cousins. The King of Great Britain, the Kaiser of Germany, the Tsar of Russia, they are first cousins. They have the same grandma, and yet they are squabbling and not trusting each other. So as I said, the place where this is all going to kick off, or the um, inhabitants of this place, it's all going to kick it off, is Serbia. Serbia is very angry that Bosnia is part of the Austria-Hungarian Empire. And there's a specific group. When I say Serbia, it's kind of a feeling, but specifically this group of Serbian nationalists, nationalists teetering on the edge of terrorists, and they call themselves the Black Hand. And their number one mission or goal or thing that makes them the most angry is that these Slavic countries are under this Austrian control. They want all of the area within the red to be united into one country. So the person who's going to be the center of all this is this man, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. He is the heir to the throne. So he's not the emperor of Austria-Hungary, but he is a Habsburg, and he is next in line. He's the crown prince, as it is. And the emperor decides that it would be a good idea if Franz Ferdinand went on a goodwill tour. This was, remember, one of the simulation questions where it said, you know, your people are really upset with you. What should you do? And one of the options was to just dress up in your finest clothes and go around in a carriage and wave to the people and kiss the babies and remind them all that their rulers love them. That's basically the plan for Franz Ferdinand. They're going to go around, and he and his wife are going to go on this goodwill tour and try to soothe the ruffled feathers. And they decide that he should start by going to Sarajevo. Sarajevo is a city within Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is controlled by Austria-Hungary. So you can see Sarajevo is a beautiful place, and so they are going to visit. And Black Hand gets the idea that this is the perfect time and the perfect place to assassinate Franz Ferdinand. They got it all figured out. So the idea is that Franz Ferdinand is going to be part of a parade. He's going to be in a car going down the road, and the idea is, and you can imagine it's 1914, right? So you can think of what the cars, very Model T-esque, open roofs, everyone's in a convertible. And so the plan is that these bad guys, the Black Hand, they're going to line the edges, where the parade is going by, and one of them is going to take a bomb and roll it bowling ball style underneath the carriage, and it's going to explode, and it's going to kill the Archduke. So the morning of the parade, they go, they're all set up, and one of them, at the right time, rolls the bomb and misses. It goes through the car underneath a different carriage and then explodes. And so, of course, there's instant chaos. Somebody got hurt, but it obviously wasn't the right car, so Franz Ferdinand is fine. All the members of the Black Hand scatter because they don't want to get caught. They instantly cancel the parade. They tell the Archduke to go back to his hotel, and that's it. They have screwed up. They've completely screwed up the whole assassination, and they all say, well, sucks for us. And they all decided to go home, try again another day. I'm going to go to the next slide. Why are you doing like this? What in the world? So this is the car that they were in, by the way. So when this happens, the driver, Archduke Franz Ferdinand's driver, is going to take him straight back to the hotel, right? Because somebody's trying to kill you. And so they are driving back. But the driver is not familiar with Sarajevo, and he gets lost. Meanwhile, one of the members of the Black Hand, Gavrilo Princip, is super disappointed that this played out, that he didn't get to kill anybody. He's a whole whopping 19 years old, so he's been waiting for this for a while. And he decides that the best course of action for him is to get drunk and sleep off his sorrows. So he goes into a little grocery store to pick up some food and a lot of wine. He's shopping, doing his thing. And Ferdinand's driver has gotten them so completely lost that he ends up pulling into this narrow alleyway. And it's a dead end. So he realizes he has to turn around. But it's a pretty narrow alley. So he's doing one of these, 37-point turns where he's like, pull up, back up, pull up, back up, trying to get turned around. And people are starting to gather because, this guy looks like an idiot. The crazy thing is, this alleyway happens to be right next to the entrance to a grocery store. And Gavrilo Princip walks out of the grocery store with his bags of wine, and what does he happen to see? So, modern problems require modern solutions. Pulls out his little hand revolver, and he shoots them both dead. Both. Because I didn't mention that on this little trip with Franz Ferdinand was his wife, Sophia. His very pregnant wife, Sophia. Gavrilo Princip does not care. He kills Franz Ferdinand and he kills Sophia. And then he tries to run away. And that's where he really fails, because the crowd catches him and they beat him within an inch of his life. But it doesn't matter because they are dead. This is the actual coat that Franz Ferdinand was wearing. It is preserved in a museum somewhere, bloodstains and all, because that's kind of how we roll. The moment Franz Ferdinand is killed, the match is struck. This is an assassination of epic proportions. This is the heir to the throne of the Habsburg Empire. This is huge. Now, Gavrilo Princip, as a person, is very easy to deal with. He is taken to jail. He's already just a bloody mess. He is found guilty, and he is sentenced to be executed. He actually gets sick and dies in prison waiting for execution. But it doesn't matter. He's dead. That's simple. That's fine. The problem is, it wasn't just him, right? This was an organized effort. Yes, he kind of improvised in the end, but this was a planned assassination. And Austria-Hungary is furious. They are furious at Siberia. Even though this happened in Bosnia, it was planned and carried out by Serbia. I said Siberia. Oh my gosh, they are not mad at Siberia. They're mad at Serbia. It was planned and carried out by Serbian nationalists. So Austria-Hungary blames the country of Serbia for this assassination. And Serbia is like, are you kidding me? To put it in context, that would be like members of the KKK attacking in another country and them holding the all of United States responsible for it. And that was Serbia's argument. This is a terrorist group. This is a group that we do not support, we do not condone. How can you blame us for their actions? Austria-Hungary does not care. So what they say to Serbia is, if you want to avoid war, you have to fulfill these 10 requirements. 10 things that Serbia has to do in order to grovel for forgiveness from Austria-Hungary and avoid war. And a lot of them are things like pay us a certain amount of money, promise that you're going to root out and find these terrorist organizations, agree to a non-aggression pact with us, things that Serbia is willing to do. The problem is with number 10, because number 10 on this list says that Serbia must allow Austria-Hungary access to every single item of intelligence in their entire government. Every single thing the government knows, every single agreement, every single alliance, every dollar they've ever borrowed or paid has to be open access to Austria-Hungary. And Serbia's like, yo, that's a step too far. And so they go to them and say, we will do 9 out of these 10 things. But even you have to admit number 10 is too far. Franz Ferdinand was assassinated on June 28, 1914. Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia on July 28, 1914, exactly 1 month later, because Serbia did not comply. Keep in mind these webs of alliances. And I told y'all, when we looked at them, even though those are the top 3, that's not everybody. The smaller countries do pick sides. In Serbia, because of its tight relationship with Russia, is aligned with the Triple Entente. And of course, Austria-Hungary is aligned with the Triple Alliance. And that's it. Because if Serbia is getting attacked by Austria-Hungary, Russia's going to come in to defend Serbia. And if Russia comes in to defend Serbia, Germany's going to come in to defend Austria-Hungary. And so on, and so on, and so on. And now we have our military alliances. Good thing Russia and France decided to team up, huh? So, with World War I, we're not going to get, I am going to talk about some battles. But chances are slim to none that you would ever be asked about a specific battle. It's more about the overall impact. And one of the big impacts is in the new technology that came as part of World War I, the new parts of war, modern warfare. So, for example, we've had cannons for a very long time, even before the Civil War. We're not using single-shot cannons anymore in World War I. We're using these massive, long-range artillery pieces. And the thing about the old weapons, like the cannons and muskets, they're very what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, inaccurate. You might hit near about where you aimed, but these World War I artillery pieces can shoot much further, so you don't have to be right up in your enemy's face anymore, and they are much more accurate. In the Civil War, we had the very beginnings of an automated, weapon with the Gatling gun. Now we have like full-on machine guns that can just take those ribbons of bullet and, rat-tat-tat-tat-tat and go really, really fast. I know y'all like that, right? One of the biggest changes in warfare, it really wouldn't say an advancement, but something that really hurts them in World War I, is this concept of trench warfare. And these trenches were these long, winding, connected tunnels. Not really tunnels because they're not underground, but trenches. And there's barbed wire between the two enemy sides, and it just takes forever to gain any ground. There are wars that are fought for months and you gain maybe 1 mile of territory. So you end up stuck in a stalemate. And if you're down in the trenches, you are standing in water and mud for months. The most desired item by a soldier in World War I was dry socks because they would go months without dry feet. And there's the result. Trench foot. Sorry if you were still eating breakfast. But you know how if you're in the bath for too long, your skin starts to wrinkle? Yeah, if you never got out of the bath, your skin would literally start to fall off. And that's what trench foot is. A lot of these trench warfares caused stalemates. There are huge chunks of time in World War I where nothing happened. People are dying, people are shooting, people are fighting, but nobody's advancing. They're just sitting in these trenches, occasionally shooting at each other. Because if you do want to gain any ground, you have to go out of the trenches. And that's when you get shot. It's not good. See? Lots of fun. Also, poison is a thing now, like poison gas floating in the air, killing you. So you have to wear gas masks. They even had little gas masks for the dogs, which is really creepy, but kind of cute, but kind of sad because, dogs dying of mustard gas and all. Wonder why they did the Wikipedia symbol for this. Yeah, he's a sad boy. So for the new technology of World War I with my lower level kids, we always used the acronym STAMP. Stamp out war or something like that. I don't know. But it stood for submarines, tanks, airplanes, machine guns, poison gas. So those are the 5 big new technologies for warfare. STAMP. Submarines, tanks, airplanes, machine guns, and poison gas. And the Germans loved their submarines. Unterwasserseebooten. And that's going to be a big problem for America. That's a map. So you can see now we're going by allies rather than triple entente, but you can still see the breakdown in who's who. You see now Italy's listed with allies, but I'll talk about that when we get a little bit further. So here is where the war starts. Austria has chosen war because the Serbians were only willing to do 9 out of 10 on their demands. Austria declares war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. And Russia begins to mobilize. Now, they haven't done anything yet. They just start getting their troops together, practicing. I don't know why they got some little boy there with a gun, but that is very Russia for you. And they haven't made any direct threats, but no one's dumb. They understand what's going on. So Germany says to Russia, I'm going to need you to stop mobilizing. Russia says, look, this was between me and Austria-Hungary, and you don't need to worry about it. So how is Germany going to respond to being told don't worry about it? Germany declares war on Russia. Russia's not even part of the war yet, but Germany decides the smartest thing to do is to make the preemptive attack and declare war on Russia. So immediately, this puts everyone in a two-front war because Serbia and Russia are kind of on opposite sides of them. The first big war, no, not yet. It meant battle, but anyway. One of the blocks already saw this, but this kind of shows the fall of the declarations. Serbia talking to Austria-Hungary, and then you got Russia responding, then you got Germany responding, and here comes France and Great Britain kind of pulling up the rear. But right now we're in those first four guys: Serbia, Austria-Hungary, Russia, and then Germany. I'm gonna go to the next one. Just kidding. Okay, so this is that two-front war. So the first major battle, as I was saying, is the Battle of Tannenberg. And this is between Germany and Russia. Keep in mind the size of Russia, but then keep in mind German militarism and Prussia's background and Bismarck and all that. Germany versus Russia, and this is a massive victory for Germany. They almost completely destroyed Russia's Second Army. And this is a huge wake-up call for the rest of Europe that even though Germany is the new kid on the block, they are not weak. They are not struggling. They have come in ready to go. So the biggest issue that Germany has at this point um, is trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Because Germany knows that Russia and France are allies. At this point, France has not said or done anything. But Germany knows that France and Russia are allies. And therefore, there is a chance that France will jump in. So at this exact moment, Germany has a couple options. They just beat up on Russia. So Russia is trying to get fixed up, remobilize, and then they clearly are going to fight Germany again. So Germany can just kind of chill and wait, get things together, get ready for the attack they know is coming from Russia, and get ready from the attack they think is going to come from France. Or they can make a really bold move and attack France. And you might sit there and go, why would you attack France? What has France done to you? Nothing. But right now, Russia is weak, and France isn't expecting us to attack them out of nowhere. So what if we just zoom into France and beat them up and defeat them before Russia's ready to fight again? And then we won't have a two-front war. We'll only have a one-front war. This is called the Schlieffen Plan. And it's kind of one of those things that they're like, wow, this is so crazy, it might just work. It's not going to work, but they think it might work. The problem that Germany does not anticipate is that they decide to march through Belgium to get to France. Because everyone is expecting, if you look at that map, look what the border is between France and Germany. Our old buddy Alsace-Lorraine. So anybody would expect Germany to come through there, right? So Germany says, what if we go through Belgium and sweep in through the north of France? Decent idea. The problem is Great Britain is sworn to protect Belgium. They have their own side alliance that is separate from all these big public ones. And Great Britain says to Germany, no, you may not go through Belgium. And what does Germany do? They go through Belgium. And an immediate response from Great Britain declares war on Germany. So basically, Germany has declared war on France by invading them. Great Britain declares war on Germany, not because of what they did to France, but because they invaded Belgium. All these different connections and alliances are influencing how this war is going to go. When Germany attacks France through the Schlieffen Plan, it fails very quickly. They have a battle called the Battle of Marne, Marne, and this is what happens when Germany almost makes it to Paris, and then they are stopped. They're stopped, and they're stopped dead in the trench warfare. It's going to become a stalemate that is going to lead to 4 years of trench warfare in France. France is going to be dug up like you wouldn't believe over this war. So the Battle of Marne was the defeat of the Schlieffen Plan, and now Germany definitely has a two-front war. They have a war against France in the west, and they have a war against Russia in the east. And if that wasn't bad enough, now that they have angered Great Britain, and Great Britain has declared war, they have set up a naval blockade because they do have a powerful military. And so they're going to attempt to stop supplies from getting into these German ports. So this is, if you don't know The Onion, they are a comedian, a satire site, online. And so this is a fake, obviously fake newspaper ad or newspaper headline. But it says, war declared by all. Austria declares war on Serbia, declares war on Germany, declares war on France, declares war on Turkey, declares war on Russia, declares war on Bulgaria, declares war on Britain. Ottoman Empire also almost declares war on itself. Nations struggle to remember allies. So it's, not too far off because it's pretty bad. So as this war starts really continuing, because it is a very long war, Germany begins to rely on their favorite type of new warfare, which is the submarine. The problem is that they're engaging in what's called unrestricted submarine warfare. That unrestricted part comes in play with the kind of the rules of naval battles. You are not supposed to open fire on certain ships. On aid ships, meaning like medics and things like that. On passenger ships that are not part of the war. And you're definitely not supposed to shoot at ships that belong to countries that you're not even at war with. The problem is Germany is not following the rules. They are attacking passenger vessels. They are attacking boats that don't belong to their enemies. They're even shooting at American boats occasionally. And that is a big problem for the United States. And so the President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, has to step in and be like, yo, knock it off. We are not part of this war, and you really don't want us to be, which the Germans do not want the United States to be. So they agree to stop with the unrestricted submarine warfare. Ottoman Empire decides to jump into the war, and they jump in on the side of the Central Powers with Germany and Austria-Hungary. And the Gallipoli campaign is a battle between the Ottoman Empire, Australia, and Turkey. None of those countries are in the main allies, but they're all controlled. No, I'm sorry. It was the Ottomans versus Australia. Turkish was heavy in the Ottoman. I didn't mean to imply that Turkey was fighting against the Ottoman. they're controlled by other forces, right? The Turkish forces are controlled by the Ottomans. The Australian forces are under the control of Great Britain. So they are all fighting for other people, other countries, other empires. This was a huge loss for Australia, for the Allies. This was a victory for the Ottoman, but it really cost the Ottomans something because it started to set the stage for Turkish independence. The Turkish people who were in this war start to feel like maybe the Ottoman Empire is not a good thing. They want to break away and just be an independent country. So the Battle of Gallipoli is a victory for the Central Powers, but it's going to cost the Ottoman Empire Turkey in the end. I'm not sure where the slide I wanted to stay with this, but we have a change with Italy right about this time in the war. The Allies, the Triple Entente, they go to Italy and they say, look, we know you were part of the original Central Powers, but you really haven't done anything in the war, which was true. Italy is that person in the fight in the hallway that's standing on the edges saying, oh yeah, I wouldn't take that if I was you. Hit him. Come on, let's go. I'm going to fight you all. But the minute fighting actually starts, all of a sudden he's gone. That's Italy. Italy likes to instigate and cheer people on, but doesn't like to fight. So the Triple Entente, the Allies, say to Italy, if you turn on your alliance and join us, we will give you land at the end of the war. Italy will switch sides in a minute if it benefits them, and that's exactly what they do. So right before what I'm about to talk about with Lusitania, Italy switches sides and joins the Allies. In 1915, a British passenger ship called the Lusitania was sunk by a German submarine. This was a cruise ship. It was a passenger ship. It was supposed to be off limits. Germany claimed that the ship was being used to smuggle weapons and therefore was free game to be shot down. There was no evidence of that. Nobody believed Germany, and so it became a huge international debacle. The United States was furious because there were Americans on board and basically said to Germany, look, you are on your second strike. The next time you start acting up, we're getting involved. What's crazy is that nowadays, modern times, they found the Lusitania. I mean, they knew where it was, but they're down there exploring, and they discovered that Germany was absolutely right. Great Britain was smuggling weapons on the Lusitania, and under the laws of conflict, that did make them fair game to be shot down. The passengers probably had no idea, but Germany took the brunt of anger from the international community, and they were valid. They were right the whole time. So another picture of freezing people. Propaganda is huge during the war, by the way. Huge, huge, huge. A lot of racial, calling the Germans guerrillas is really racial. But just a lot of bigoted stuff, denoting the Germans as animals, inspiring the Americans to fight. You know, soldiers eat babies. That's a fact. Oh, that's not a real one, actually. Team Demon. That's not a real one. But destroy this mad brute, enlist. All this fun propaganda. That one snuck in there. So, also in 1915, so after Lusitania, Italy declares war on Austria, which is a huge shock to Austria and Hungary because they thought they were friends. And Italy was like, just kidding. There is no chance at this point that this is still being played because we are way past the end of the class. So I'm going to wrap this up. Ain't no way anyone's still listening. So goodbye. See y'all later.